So welcome and thanks for being here. I was speaking with Minja before that this is really a great conference. I was here last year, so thank you again for having us this year instead of just me. And we are here for a bit of a different talk from the technical implementation thing that we did last year and we'll do in the next session. So I hope this is something that you'll all enjoy and that may be useful to some of you. And so let's start with a brief presentation about who we are, if you don't know. I'm Daniele, I'm from Italy. I co-founded ZOOlanders with Million. We do extensions for YOOtheme Pro and Zoo from history. Yeah. And I also co-own a digital agency in Italy. We are 15 people. We do from digital marketing to website e-commerce and CRM, all kind of stuff, custom development. So that's me.
And I'm Miljan Aleksic, co-founder of ZOOlanders. I mainly focus on ZOOlanders for the last 10 years. In the meantime, I also work for YOOtheme in 2 occasions. And I like to always do some side projects, and the latest side project we are working on is the mini app, and it will allow you to launch a YOOtheme Pro builder like in seconds, and then you can basically prototype a layout, share it, even make it like a site, so you can launch a simple single site based on that layout. It's still really early development, so you still cannot use it, but you can subscribe to get news and information about it. So there it is. Next.
So what about you? Just a quick raise of hands. How many of you use YOOtheme Pro? I guess like 100%. Okay. How many of you use ZOOlanders? Okay, that's still good. Oh, yeah. And just the demographic of role. So who's the developer here? And integrator, marketing. Okay, there is some marketing. Good. So great. This talk will be a bit different than the usual. So this is us. If you don't recognize it, this is Miljan, and this is me. No. Joking. This is where the name basically came from, right? Nice. So we thought about a name that started with Zoo, which was our first extension we built upon, and ZOOlander was the first movie that came to mind. So we just pluralized it. Yeah. That's the origin.
Cool. What are we going to talk about?
What are we going to talk about? So a brief history of ZOOlanders, just for history's sake. But actually, because this talk will be about things that we discovered during our journey as extension developers on every side of the project. So not only like coding or extension building, but also like market size, market fit, support, and everything related to the ecosystem. So not only implementation stuff, as I said before. So we will be talking about finding the niche or market you want to tackle, and we have some particular use case on that. Understand where you are in the market, who are your peers, who are your dependencies and possible clients, advantages and disadvantages of going solo versus like partnership like us, or upstream and downstream. But things that we learned along the way to build extensions that do not die after 2 years of development because they get too complex, and other things. How to keep your code clean for development purposes. We'll also focus on support. So what we discovered during support in these 10 years. So what worked, what didn't work, pros and cons. So how do we trust? It's not how to, but how we approach that topic. And how to give back to the ecosystem you're in. So in this case, it could be YOOtheme Pro, Joomla, whatever it is. So brief history of ZOOlanders, very quick. So
Yeah,
take it.
it's, as you can see, like in 2009, ZOOlanders rapidly becomes popular. In 2011, we release our first plugins and we start the project ZOOlanders. In 2016, YOOtheme Pro launch. 2018, we started experiment on it. In 2020, we released our essentials for YOOtheme Pro, and 2020, here we are. This looks like very linear, but actually there was more like a roller coaster, and just try something, the market changed, try something else. Before essentials for YOOtheme Pro, actually Zoo was really going down, basically also ZOOlanders. So with YOOtheme Pro, we had a second opportunity, and we really took everything that we learned from our experience, put it together, and reinvented ourselves like with essentials, not only for YOOtheme Pro, but also for Zoo. So we also simplified our products. And yeah, here we are.
So, what's now in essentials? This is just a brief overview that Miljan can better explain it than me for sure.
Yeah, basically we have 6 add-ons: font sources, access, dynamic, and layout, and icons. And from those add-ons, we will have like 19 sources. You can build sources from it. 12 actions. These are 4 actions, and 3 basic free elements, and more than 26 form elements. So many people don't realize that there are so many features in essentials because they are like spread into different add-ons. So it's a good opportunity to see and notice everything that you could actually build with essentials.
Yeah. Another thing that it's not so easy to explain is that we call them add-ons, but they are within the same section as Miljan told before. Mm-hmm. So we group them by use case, basically. So those are the 6 main use cases that we cover with our extension, and they are spread out everywhere. So we thought it was a good idea to like give a brief overview of this.
Mm-hmm.
So, finding your niche. So this is both from our experience at ZOOlanders and my experience in Webble, where we also help company build new projects, new stuff, new side projects. E-commerce is everything. And these are some of the takeaway that we learned in the last like 10 years or something. So in every project that we followed, ZOOlanders included, there is really a spectrum of possibilities or where you want to go, and the two extremities are either finding a niche market, super small market that's very easy to market to, because once you enter that niche, everyone knows you because it's super small. And the other, the opposite of that is find a huge market, like I don't know, CRM or landing page building or whatever, and try to cut yourself a super small percentage of that market, because even at 1% of that market is still a huge opportunity to grow and make money actually, because I think everyone wants to have some income from these projects. So in our case, in ZOOlanders' case, we went with the find a niche market, obviously. So we are a niche of a niche of a niche, because we are extensions for YOOtheme Pro, which is a niche of Joomla and WordPress now, which is a niche of the CMS market. So it's super small, and the takeaways from that are that it's it's way easier to make marketing and be known in such a niche. The downside is that you have a very low market cap, so it's very easy to reach the maximum income you can get from that market, because once you reach like 90% of the market, that's it, and you cannot grow more in that particular niche. It's way easier to just start out. So if you don't know what to do, this is the way we usually suggest, because it's way easier to identify what you can do and where you can go. The opposite one is find a huge market, as I said before, and find a way to cut yourself that niche. So marketing is way harder in that case, and it's not so easy to cut yourself that 1% or 0.1%, but the market is so huge that the opportunities and the growing opportunities are way, way higher. So choose one that's comfortable with you. So if you go with the niche one, it's also important to understand what's the niche, who is already in the niche market. If you have competitors, that's a huge warning, because if the niche is small and you already have competitors, either you kick them out or the market is still smaller than it already is. And the other thing is you really need to understand how that niche works and what the relationships are to avoid going against people that are very influential in that market or that you rely upon to build your niche market. So you need to be very careful with that. So understanding who's in the market is very, very important.
All right. Collaboration versus going solo. As Daniele was saying, you could choose to do everything by yourself for whatever reason. You maybe didn't find the right person, etc. It has its challenges, and it might be very difficult. When you found a collaborator, you always have a different experience that you bring together. Yeah, you might think that when you bring more people on board, you are sharing also profit, etc. But on the long run, it definitely pays out, because you will never be able to by yourself have the same ideas, the same vision, and build a great product only by yourself. There are of course exceptions, but I think by joining forces, you will always grow faster and better. Even if you are collaborating, you have your partner in business, and you started, you need to grow your team, and you will start delegating, maybe support, even maybe development. Be careful, at least in our experience, to don't hurry up on doing that, because when you're starting, you're the one who really understands the product, and if you start delegating, you're going to be not delivering the same quality, and it can quickly start to burn out the money you have into that delegation and not really getting back all the performance. So we will suggest just go slow, try to do by yourself everything, even if it's too much, but then maybe you should prioritize what features you want or how fast you want to grow. But yeah, if you're a unicorn company, and do different. And you're the best support means again, if you're delegating support to somebody who just reads the documentation and is good at programming, but actually doesn't understand your product as you do, the support will never be as good. So it's always better that if you can be the number one in support, the first responder, at least for majority of the tickets, and be there firsthand. And then if you have somebody else that you can delegate other ticket, that's fine. But it's always better if you can do the support. At least this is what I worked.
Yeah, we learned that the hard way. So we grew too fast with the zoo market, and we tried to delegate his support.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, we were the ones solving tickets anyway, because the product was a bit complicated, and we just burned possible revenue by just paying people to do what we could have done ourselves, or improve documentation, or improve any other parts of the support chain or development chain.
Yeah, true. Like by just improving the documentation, actually the support went really down. So the support requests. So there are many other things that you could focus before trying to find delegating.
So
that's me again.
Yeah.
Building extensions that last. Yeah. So continue with the last. Like plan ahead as much as possible. Any feature that you are maybe excited to build now, it could be a problem in the future. Maybe you will fall into a future request. Maybe you are like so excited about something and you think it's a great idea, but think twice, think even 3 times, because after maybe 6 years, that feature that was great, it's actually was not even so useful. It proven to not be, but it's there, and maybe 1% or 10% of your clients are still using it, and you need to maintain it, and it's a problem for you to move on. So be careful with that. Try to create building blocks.
Yeah, this is something that we try to do with Essentials, for example. When we have a feature idea, we try to understand how much of that feature is actually composable with other smaller features that we can later reuse for other stuff. So for example, in Essentials, we have this sources thing where you can like connect Google Sheet, for example, or Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And that requires like authorization with Google and API calls and whatever. And we tried as much as possible to like split that into its bare bone components. So authorization, APIs, and then sources. And then later on came in very useful because we did the save to Google Sheet, for example, source from Action.
Mm-hmm.
And the authorization part and the API part was already out of the sources, so we could reuse everything with it and just build upon it. So if you're building an extension that does many things, like our case is like that, we do tons of things around the template and the CMS. If you can like make the feature as small as possible and build upon several building blocks, you'll get many other ideas for future features, and it will also help you like maintaining that code and making it way less bloated and big and hard to understand. So that's the takeaway we got from the Zoo days, which it was not like that, and in the new Essentials it's actually following this idea.
Yeah, because it sounds easy to say, like, do it this way or that way, but when you actually want to envision that, it takes experience. So this will be something that we can say now, but if you're just starting, you're probably going to be doing more messy things, so it's okay. You just try your best. And again, this is where it's good to have different collaborators with different experience, like Daniel brings more technical experience, I bring other experience, and then when we put together, we're actually doing much better work and came out with solutions that by ourselves we couldn't maybe. And again, fewer features, higher quality. It's again like just think about the features before you go into that product and a higher quality product. And don't blindly follow user future requests for all those reasons.
So, keeping your code clean. So for the developers in the room, working on your extension code base, or any code base actually, so custom development or whatever it is, can lead you to become a little bit stale. So always doing the thing the same way, because you learn them that way and you just continuously do so. So my advice, our advice actually on this, is try to look outside of your bubble and see how other projects are doing things. Because, for example, we use Joomla, but we also use PrestaShop, we also use Laravel. So we try to like learn from all these places what's going on, what's the new like best practice, and try to bring them into everything we do, ZOOlanders included, even if it's not really yet a standard or common use case, and that helps you like improving and also keeping the code as modern as possible and easy to maintain as possible. Test stuff. This is hard, I know, but the great improvement that we made from the Zoo days to the Essentials days is having a full-blown unit test suite and feature test suite automated. So how many of you know what automated testing is? Okay, someone who doesn't know what automated testing is? Okay, basically there is a way to write code that tests a feature you've built every time you change your code. So I build a feature today, and then write a new piece of code that tests that feature works as expected. So like, if I have this data, do something, I expect the result to be this way. That's a standard test. The test is very useful because if you later on try to change something unrelated to that, you would like to be sure that your original code still works. And that's where tests come along. So we moved to a strategy where we try to make as much tests automated as possible to cover all the use cases. And every time there is a support ticket with a feature that doesn't work as expected, we try to fix it and add a new test for that specific edge case that we didn't cover because the tests weren't failing. So it was missing that piece. So that's one thing that really helped us be more confident with the extension and also move way faster down the long road.
Question?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, what do you use for automated testing? Cypress or something else?
No, we do. We are looking into Cypress for the front end stuff, but we don't actually have so much front end, meaning JavaScript UI, because that's mainly YOOtheme Pro job. So the back end of YOOtheme Pro is fully JavaScript, is a Vue.js single page web application. That's their testing area. We test all the rendering interaction with PHP unit, or past if you want. That's the same thing. So we basically have the JSON layout, for example, that YOOtheme Pro saves. We take them and run them through the builder and expect the builder to render some HTML output, or call the Google API and expect to be filled in some element. We have some example later on, so you'll see.
For the UI, we do have not tests, but we are using storybooks, which allows you to set like stories, and you expect some output. So it's a little bit manual, but you go through the stories, and if nothing goes wrong, then it's still working. So it's not automated, but it's a kind of test.
You don't have to do it in the builder with all the data. You can do it in a separate, simplified UI. Okay. We can show you guys here if you want later. Try to stick to the upper layer you're using. So for example, we are relying on YOOtheme Pro, and it has a coding standard. Features are built in a way, and we try to follow the same conventions, so it looks the same, and it's also easier for new people to just contribute. So that's a big takeaway. So even if you like, I don't know, Laravel standards more, you're writing a YOOtheme Pro plugin, better to follow the YOOtheme Pro style. Test again. So that's something important. Automate as much stuff as you can. So a thing that we discovered in the early days of Zoo is that we were losing so much time in doing the same stuff over and over again, like manual testing, releasing stuff, uploading that to the site, releasing that to the user, updating. So try to invest as much time as possible, if you can, to automate all the repetitive stuff that you're doing. So, I don't know, cleaning up code, releasing, deploying, all that stuff. If you can automate it, it's so much time saver.
And now it's much easier with it.
Yeah, GitHub Actions or whatever. We have an example of that later on. And test again. So that's, again, the greatest time saver ever in your days. And if you can, try to keep your code up to the latest standards. So refactoring for us is something that we do, like, I would say, every day. So we have features that we built like a couple of years ago. Dynamic was the latest example. It was a feature that we built 2-3 years ago or something, and it grew, and now it was kind of a messy thing that was breaking sometime, edge cases everywhere. Now there is multiplication in YOOtheme Pro, and Dynamic was kind of hard to follow the flow. So we just took the time to just rewrite the thing, not really rewrite it, but like cleaning it up to make it more easy to follow when things were going haywire. So that if you can do that on everything, it will really help your life in like next year. And testing it. So back to testing. What do we have is a unit test suite. This is actually a feature integration test suite. We call it unit because there is no unit testing in YOOtheme Pro. It's not doable. But for each feature that we have access, out, condition, core, whatever, we have a bunch of tests that try to be sure that each features that we built within our tool still work. In the positive and in the negative, like it does work, and if it shouldn't work, it shouldn't work. So that's also a good test. And this is from like last week. So we have 628 tests with a couple of thousand assertions. This runs in 19 seconds. So we can run it like locally, and every time we build a feature, we retest everything and just be sure that works. And also when we push to GitHub a new release, GitHub also tests that on like every PHP version, Joomla 3, Joomla 4, YOOtheme Pro, previous version, YOOtheme Pro, current version, YOOtheme Pro beta version. So we kind of know that we try to run this in every scenario that in real life this can actually go, and that helps so much. We introduced some PHP backward compatibility issue, like used a PHP 8 feature, and we forgot that some people are on PHP 7.4, and the CI caught it, and we just fixed it before releasing. And automated as much as you can. So as I said, we automate the testing on CI, continuous integration, so GitHub in this case, but also deployment is automated at ZOOlanders. So every time we tag a new release, we push to GitHub, and GitHub does all the brunt work of testing, and then building, packaging, uploading to the site, create a new release on the system, update the stream for the updates on Joomla and WordPress, changelog, I think, yeah, changelog stuff. And so we just try to save as much time as possible. So this was a huge work at the upfront. Takes like 3-4 days to make it like really solid. But then every time we need to release, it's just, I don't know how much time, like 30 seconds or something to just say, okay, let's release, merge, and push the tag, and everything works. So most of the time.
And if it doesn't, you can follow what's going on.
Yeah, and
that's easy.
So that's a lot of time saved.
Okay, the power of user support. Many extension developers, maybe it happens also at the beginning, that we don't focus so much on support, we focus on the features. And actually, that's a wrong approach. The support should be like the number one. And if you can, I mean, you should really do like the documentation, do the best documentation you have. And documentation doesn't mean put everything you have of the features, like list it and how to do it. You should really think about what the user is going through when first gets in and to try your product. And from that vision, like show him what's the next steps and how to get the most use of it. So once he has the documentation, he'll probably not even reach out to you, which is the greatest support if he doesn't need to. But if he does, like, you should be there for him the fastest as you can. If it can be during a few hours, that's great. Don't let it the secondary, because the user has to feel that he's supported, and then he will start, you will build trust through support.
I already...
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah, so go above and beyond, and you can, as I said. Speed is paramount, so if you can do it in the same hours. When we were here, actually, we were
replying tickets from the phone.
Yeah. So we don't make excuses, like we have it, you have it in the phone, you can do the basic ones, so do it. Be clear what is included in support. Yeah, you don't want users to kind of, not abuse, but to expect more that you can give, so you should be clear, like what is getting into the support, like and if it's priority, if you have different levels, so just be clear so that they also are clear and they can reach out to you in the right channel, the right way. Don't be bullied. Yeah, there are clients that think that because they pay some small amount, they own your time and own you kind of, no? So they will push you, and because they have some vision of how this should work and it's not working for their use case, and they will expect you to fix it and right away. So those you can just put them aside, make a refund if you want. Like, thank you.
Yeah, this is something that we learned again the hard way.
Yeah, you cannot please everyone.
We try to make the best of support that we can, but if a user is super rude or bullying or offensive in some way, it's just better to just leave it alone and say, okay, if you're not happy, just take the refund. It's your life, your mental health, everything. Yeah. So just refund, you're happy, and go your own way, because otherwise you're just bringing along that negativity to the next client, and you will be worse for the cool guys actually. So it's
it can be difficult because you are thinking that you're doing a wrong job, that your product is wrong, because somebody is giving you bad feedback, and suddenly you want to please him. It's like you want to please everyone, and if you're not mentally prepared for that, you can really go the wrong way. So be sure you're doing a great product, great support, and for those 0.04% that we have, it's really, don't worry about them, and be ready to lose the client. It's okay. You cannot satisfy, not every client is for you, like market is, but it's how it is, so don't be bullied. Documentation and guides, so yeah, do the best documentation you can, and if you can make guides, many users ask for those, like they will understand the documentation, how to reference things, but they will maybe not understand how to use it properly, so a guide can help with that. Can be a video, but doesn't even have to, can be just screenshots, steps, how to do this, how to do that. So as more guides, more examples, that helps a lot.
Yeah, this is a takeaway actually from last year, JD24DACH, where we had documentation. It's not like full-blown complete, we know, so we are trying to put more stuff into it. We refactored it like last year or something. But when doing talk, even at the YOOtheme Community Day, 2 days ago, the thing that we always notice is that the user cannot always piece the things together. So they see two features and they can be related to do something with both of those, but making the connection is not easy for a new user. So for you that build the product, it's obvious that, for example, if you have a form and save something, then you can use a source to read that same thing that you wrote to display things. For us, that's super intuitive. But for a new user that jumps in, those are two different concepts. And it's not so automatic that it just understands that it can use the product that way. So what we'll try to do, because this is not live, so we don't have any guides actually on the site currently. So that's like a self-improvement tip. Is to try and make example workflows of what you can do, so people instead of looking at single features separately, can get a broader and different use case and go, you can do that, and that's the best feeling ever. So these are our takeaways.
These are stats from our support from the last year. we wanted to share so that you can also understand what we're talking about, good support and everything. We have like total email conversation during this this year, like more than 1,000. What's the difference between mail and
this is the conversation, so a single ticket is in the first number, and each ticket can have like 3, 4, 5, 7 replies. So the first one is just a single ticket, and the second one is how many total messages that we bring.
Thank you.
No worries. I was like confused the first time.
Yeah. The arrow in red doesn't mean that's something bad, but actually the less conversations, the less support requests you have, that's actually better. You don't want that to rise. Maybe you think, oh, the more support, the more sales you're making, but it doesn't go like that. If you have good documentation, good guides, and everything's in place, you can have a lot of sales and still the support going down because they actually don't need to reach out to you, and that's the best outcome. For us, we have a rating, and yeah, we are not trying to be 100%. Don't even try it. It's impossible. But if you look at it, this is based on 141 ratings, which is like 14% of customers, which means that from all this, only 141 actually give it a rating like good, bad, or in the middle. And if you calculate from the only conversation, this is just 0.04, which is basically meaningful. So we are still like great numbers.
Yeah, this doesn't. We don't want this to come across as we are good at support. That's not the idea behind this like showing these numbers. But this would like to be a takeaway. Like, don't look at numbers blindly because you get the wrong impressions. So if you're doing support or you're doing sales or whatever, don't just look at screenshots like this and say, man, 4%, that's so bad. We are under 90% of positive feedback. We need to improve positive feedback. Just step away a bit, look at the bigger picture, and in this case, as Miljan said, if we look at, for example, I don't know, sales versus ticket number, we didn't lower the sales and we get 20% less support tickets. So that's a good thing. Don't like be scared of that. Or for the ratings, if you just look at that, you're scared. So, no, we need to do better, faster support. Miljan do the better job with the first ticket. No, that's not the case. It's 0.0. I don't know the number, but you can calculate it. It's nothing. That say it's just 6 people, I think, out of a year that told us we are not satisfied. And they are all people that we refounded and just went another way. So if you just step back, you'll find yourself in a way better situation usually than you feel it's coming out from simple stats.
Yeah. And because you actually want to do the support yourselves, and that's actually also has a burnout. So maybe from this 0.04, that day you were in bad mood, you had something in your head, and you were expecting that they will understand some feature, and you just say, hey, here is the link, take it yourself, and you do a bad support. I mean, it can happen. And it's good to look back and see, okay, what you can improve and to do it better. But you should not obsess with it, just try to be better and better. Especially because you are doing the support. If you had a team of supporters, then maybe you should push them like, hey, what is these numbers? But in a company that is small, you're starting, like you're doing it everything, look at the numbers to improve, but don't get obsessed with them. And then the first response time, I was telling before, that's really important. We have a good ratio, 27% is like under 15 minutes. Those are usually easy tickets, like, yeah, thank you for your request, here is the link with more information. It's really easy to answer, so we prioritize those. Then 10% is like 30 minutes and it goes. And if there is something that takes more than 2 days, it's like only 2%. So usually it's a few hours we already solve it. Yes?
What software do you use for support?
Oh yeah, it's Help Scout.
Okay.
Yeah, we switched it. We were using ZOOlanders at the very beginning of ZOOlanders, but
Yeah, we moved to a platform outside of the site, so we have more freedom of doing with the site whatever we want without having to like pay 7,000 components and stuff for everything. We already have some for like selling and stuff. But in our use case, we just need a simple like way of mailing us, and we reply to you. And AMP Scout is like it's just a wrapper around the mailbox. So you give it a mailbox, and if any mails that goes through that, it's a ticket in AMP Scout. So that's for us was way better than like Zendesk with 7,000 features made for enterprise level customers. So yeah, but I mean there are tons of desk systems.
Yeah.
My suggestion would be to take the one that makes sense to your use case. And for us, it was like, for the users, it was way better to just send a mail than like form with 7 fields and, you know, yeah. So that's our use case.
Yeah. I think we can go to the next slide.
Yeah.
Build trust.
So,
Well,
yeah, sure.
I just want to give you a small feedback that I really appreciate about the support you gave to me and I think to others, and that for me you have 100%.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's really. A small side note, of course, this is related to paid extensions. So if you do free extensions, 99% of what we said doesn't apply because you need to make money to actually do this kind of thing. So just small warning that you should have told before, but whatever. So build trust is something that we, I'll try to finish as fast as possible because we have 5 minutes.
Okay.
So all of the things that we said should go towards building trust, both with your clients and with your peers and with your upstream dependencies. I don't know how to say that. So, for example, try not to burn the bridges, especially if you are in a niche market, as we said in the first slide. Because if you're in a niche market and you burn bridges either with your clients or with your peers or with your dependencies, you don't have that market anymore, like after a couple of years. So all the things that we said, so good quality of the extension, support, everything, should build some kind of trust. So when you release the next thing, or when you need to make a breaking change, or when you did anything, you are in a position of saying, hey guys, you know us, please understand this thing, or don't get burnt out from having had a bad relationship with whoever it is. So try to be as as helpful as possible. So another thing that we try to do, not as much as we should do probably, is giving back to whoever is helping you in your niche. So in our case, we try to make contact with YOOtheme, for example, as much as possible, give feedback to what's going on, what's good, what's not good for users that use our software on top of YOOtheme Pro. I was a CMS contributor for a long time. We went with Peter, I don't know, too many, pizza bucket thingy. We also have a free Discord, so even if they should pay for support, we try as much as possible to also be on Discord and like help both our users, but also YOOtheme general users or other developers that are starting, so they don't know how to build a YOOtheme Pro extension or a Joomla extension and are asking questions like generic stuff. We try to be there as much as possible. So that's another thing that if you do that, it brings back that trust and you know helpfulness that will come back to you later in a positive way.
Because giving back is not, you shouldn't take it something like a debt that you need to return. It's actually you're giving back to the community that in the first place help you become where you are. So you're helping the next generation or the next developers to get also there. So giving back, it's at the end about the community.
So that's all for us.
We have more time.
Well, if we have more time and you have questions, Just shoot them.
Yeah.